Happy Saturday to you, each and every one of you who are joining us today on this broadcast. Hope you guys having a wonderful day. And it's a beautiful day out here in Arizona. The temperature is 80 degrees. Yes, 80 degrees. I'm wearing shorts. It's nice. It was nice and it's breezy. The sun is out. It's really nice, at least for us anyway. How's the weather where you are? Anyway, we're going to get into it today. We're going to do a little history lesson. I see Big Up. So good to see you. Is this the same thing? No, I meant to click on that. There you go. What was I going to talk about? Oh, yeah. So today we're going to get into this whole thing about the boycott, the blackout, I should say, the blackout. I'm sure if you've been online, you may have seen that around. They said there's going to be this big blackout, yesterday, and it's going to be for 24 hours. And the target was, of course, getting black people. That's what they were saying. Trying to get black folks to rally around, but it was other people as well that they were trying to rally around to kind of send a strong message to these businesses out here to let them know that we're not going to tolerate how you guys are doing this whole anti-DEI, making these anti-DEI moves. We don't like that. So we're gonna show you and let you know. So we're gonna talk about the market results of that. And then because we just gonna look at it for what it is, but then we're gonna look at the history, because there's like anything, there's always, things don't just happen in a vacuum. There's always some history behind it, and we're gonna delve into this just a little bit today in this broadcast, and then we'll talk about just something else I posted on the community page as well. And so yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about today. I'll give it about another maybe 20-25 seconds, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay. Let's see. So I already mentioned Miss Big Up. We got Gary Grant. They said it's cold in the UK. Ah, man. Have you been seeing this? There's been some debate going on about the UK and the food. I don't even want to bring that up. Anyway, let me go ahead and get off it. But yeah, apparently, I forgot the dude's name that went over there, and he did like a food review of the food over in the UK. And, he didn't really like it. He went to a restaurant. I didn't see the video. It's on my list of things to watch, but I tell you the truth, I'm really not interested in it at all. And anyway, so that started some mini food war. On YouTube, on social media. Who do you think you are coming over here telling us that our food ain't good and all this stuff? So, people find anything to just wage war on, except the things we're supposed to be waging war on. I tell you, now it's food. But anyway, I just thought of that. But cold over there, yeah. It's but yeah, 80 degrees here. I'm loving it. And let's see, we got Truck Driver in the house. We got great Wanea in the house. Good to see you as well. And everybody else that's joining us as well. So glad that you're here. We're just going to get right into it, and then we'll take a break in the middle, and then we'll come back and talk about the other thing we're going to talk about. So, yeah, so I'm sure by now you guys have heard about this whole, blackout thing that was supposed to take place yesterday. Because they want to, there are certain individuals who want to make this statement regarding, companies like Target, Walmart, what have you. You know, they want to make a strong statement, letting them know, hey, listen, we're not going to tolerate how you guys are, your stance on DEI. Well, I'll just bring this up here. This was something that Al Sharpton actually posted. And I tell you, talk about, anyway, I'll just show you in a moment here. Let me get it up here so you can really see it. I showed this the other day. This is, now, you're gonna understand why I'm laughing in a moment. Al Sharpton's DEI boycott plan. Now, he's taking credit for this, okay? Al Sharpton's DEI boycott plan, 24-hour blackout on Friday, February the 28th from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. So, and then we read through this in the last broadcast. It says this is the first step to counter the attack on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as we've said on other broadcasts as well, according to Black Enterprise magazine, only 4% of Black people actually benefit from DEI, which proves that all of this has nothing to do with Black folks. That's number one. Number two, let's look through it again. I just want to make sure that you got your eagle eyes on today. All right. Do not make any purchases. Do not shop online or in store. No Amazon, no Walmart, no Best Buy, no McDonald's or any other fast food stores, no gas, no major retailers. Do not use credit or debit cards for non-essential spending. Try to buy all you need before Friday the 28th, but if necessary, only buy essentials of absolutely necessary items such as food, medicine, emergency supplies. If you must spend, only support small local businesses. Okay, why this matters: corporations and banks only care about the bottom line. Disrupting the economy for even one day sends a powerful message. If they don't listen, we make the next blackout longer. Our numbers are powerful. This is how we make history. Spread the message. Please share with all your contacts, blah, blah, blah. The 24-hour economic blackout begins. All right, so this is what they're putting out here. Now that you've gotten your eagle eyes on, what's missing here? What's missing here? Well, one of the things that's missing here is, in the past, for those of you who've seen similar call outs before that were put out like this, they're usually making an emphasis to make sure that, okay, on one hand, we're going to boycott these big businesses. But on the other hand, we're going to make sure that you support Black businesses. They're very specific about that. They want to make sure that Black-owned businesses are supported. But if you notice this time around, they don't mention that. And it's a little surprising, supposedly coming from Al Sharpton, who you would think that it would be about that. But did Al Sharpton actually come up with this? Well, before we answer that, let's take a look at the results of this blackout. You know, again, language means everything, and they specifically calling it a blackout for a reason, because they are trying to engage a specific demographic, and I think you know who that demographic is. Let's put it this way: it's not the Chinese. Okay, all right. So let's go back to that, not to that, but to this right here, and let's see what happened. Well, according to, I think this is Fortune magazine. I'm not sure. This is stock market today. Wall Street rallies and Dow jumps 600 points to make a dreary February not so bad. So the overall is that the market did quite well yesterday. And apparently the market really didn't care too much about, I mean, let's face it, it was probably a few thousand people that actually was excited and actually did this thing. Oh, and then go back to the let's go, because I got to show people every step I do so that you are tracking with me. What's the other thing that's kind of crazy here and counterproductive? Well, the other thing that's on here is they're telling people, okay, we're going to do a whole blackout for one day. But if you notice, they said, make sure you get all your stuff before the blackout. So what does that even mean? So basically, your if counterproductive needed an example, if the word counterproductive needed an example, here's one right here. How are you going to tell people to boycott all these different businesses, But the day before, you tell them, okay, make sure you buy everything you need from these businesses. You're basically doubling up. So what does that mean? The next day, even if you don't go out and you're fully participating and engaging in this, well, those businesses that you're deeming as demonic and evil and counter, whatever, they've already made their money on you. In fact, they made it a day earlier. You actually gave them a Good Friday. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. These people do not think. It's all 100% emotionally driven, but it's counterproductive between that and the fact that, again, they don't give two craps about the impact this will have on black businesses or could have on black businesses. We did okay. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I mean, it didn't bother us money. So anyway, now here's another flyer that I'm going to share with you here. Now, it doesn't, no names attached to it or anything. But let's look at this is, according to Al Sharpton, because Al Sharpton's taking credit for this. So he said, this is the first of many steps. So apparently this is a economic blackout tour. And the title on top, this time we don't see Al Sharpton's name on there, do we? We see an organization called the People's Union USA. All right, so this is the tour. So the 28th, which was yesterday, that was the first. March the 7th through the 14th is a planned Amazon boycott. Now, do you really think you're going to stop folk from buying? Come on. I mean, it's unreal. It's literally unreal. Okay, here we go. March the 21st to the 28th, Nestle boycott. March the 7th through the 14th, Walmart boycott. March the 18th, economic boycott 2. March the 21st to the 28th, General Mills boycott. March the 6th through the 12th, Amazon boycott 2. March the 20th through the 26th, Walmart boycott 2. June the 3rd through the 9th, Target boycott. And then June the 24th through the 30th, McDonald's boycott. And then July the 4th, Independence Day boycott. I hope you're writing this down and putting this on your Google calendars so you know what days not to, buy anything. And, it was funny to me because I was just kind of perusing through social media. And of course, you got it's preachers that are really driving this thing. They're black preachers. You got people like Jamal Bryant, of course, Al Sharpton, if you want to call him that. He goes between roles there. There's a pastor, there's a large church in Washington, D.C. They're also pushing this. And there's quite a few other churches as well. They're telling their parishioners, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do. But there's a history behind this as we're moving towards this. But as you can see, as we just talked, for those that are just joining us, I really appreciate you here. We looked at the market did quite well yesterday. Someone actually left a comment, and I want to get to that. And listen, even if you disagree, it's fine. It's okay. You don't have to be, I just want to be, you don't, if you disagree with what I'm putting out, that's fine, because opinions, everybody has them, right? And that's true. So, but one thing that you have to establish when you are, when you're sharing an opinion, regardless if it's me or anybody else, is that if you're going to have an honest conversation, you have to make sure that the foundation is fact. You're dealing with facts, okay? So anybody can have an opinion, that's fine. And we can disagree with those opinions. But our opinions they do not override fact. Now, this is a commenter. I'm not calling you out, I'm not calling your names, I'm not doing anything. I'm just using this as an example of what I'm talking about. All right, so someone left this comment here and they said, billionaires moving money around does not mean the boycott was of no effect. Look at individual businesses instead of the overall stock market, which I responded. I said, you really don't know how the markets work at all. And they said, I respect your opinion, Brother Dwayne. I just disagree. So then I responded with this. Now, again, people will look at this and say, oh, he's arguing with me. He's mad. He's debating. He doesn't like when people disagree with them. I can't tell you how many times. I'm fine. You see, my face is plain, y'all. Okay, it's fine. I'm not, my blood pressure didn't go up. So whatever voice or ghost or whatever that you may, I'm not saying that this person thinks this. I'm just walking you through because some people would see me interacting like this and they will assume that I'm mad or I can't stand when people don't like. No, it's not at all. We're having a conversation. Okay, it's just simple. And so this is what my response was to them. Okay, I said, you are free to disagree. I said, but the one thing we can't do is to have an honest conversation is to allow opinions to override the facts. Your assertion that perhaps this is nothing more than billionaires moving around money doesn't even scratch the surface on how the market forces work, especially in this case. Assuming that perhaps a few thousand people decided not to shop at a certain retailer is going to cause a major stock price to tank is naive at best, especially when those same shoppers are told to double up in their shopping the prior day. So again, it's not about opinion here. It's having a basic understanding on how the market works, right? That's how it works. So just because you or anybody for that matter believes that, hey, we did this boycott, we got together, you see how the market went down. I don't even know how Target did yesterday or whatever, but trust and know it had very little to do with any kind of boycott. There are so many different factors that are tied into that. I did peek at Target just overall, like their year to date and all of that. They have been downtrending, and that's for numbers of reasons. And, as far as the DEI, does that have anything to do with it? It may to a certain extent. But I guarantee you, if they were to build a Target in any of these communities or whatever, they will have no problem in getting people to buy stuff from Target. Okay, it's Target ain't bleeding like that. They're doing quite well. So it doesn't work like this. So anytime you hear people talking about, oh, we're going to do a boycott, just know that most times that is coming from people of a certain age who come from a certain time period, because you don't hear people, Gen Z people, you don't hear younger generations talking about boycotts. Now, boycotts, here's the thing. A lot of times when people talk about the people who are talking about boycotts, what they're referencing are times when black people would do boycotts, let's say in smaller towns in the deep South. Let's say if it was in Birmingham, Alabama, or Jackson, Mississippi, or something like that, right? And it would be a small town, and they'll say, and the black people would get together and they would say, okay, we're going to boycott all the white businesses. We're not going to go to the white-owned businesses. Well, I mean, that's an easy win, right? And so that is the framework that people still work off of. So now we're not just talking about Birmingham, Alabama, or Jackson, Mississippi in the 1950s or 60s. Now we're talking about an entire country made up of different towns, of different things, with all kinds of stuff. So nobody's really talking about that. You understand? That's serious. You understand what I'm saying? So it doesn't work is what I'm saying. It not at least when you got black folks that are calling for it. Now, let's just be honest and 100% real about this. It's not, that is an old timey thing that people will put out there, but in reality, it's of none effect. It isn't. It just isn't. We have no recent real examples of that even happening. But in this particular case here, what we're looking at, what's that? Oh, that's the doorbell. In this particular case, what we're looking at, I thought I heard something. In this particular case, what we're looking at an example. I'm talking about this so-called blackout, where even black businesses are included in being boycotted. Now, how crazy and weird is that? So anyway, somebody posted in our hotline group, and I really appreciate this individual posting this, because I had no idea. I just looked at the numbers and kept it moving. I don't care. I literally don't care. It's no big deal to me. But come to find out, it wasn't Al Sharpton that came up with this whole idea, even though he's taking full credit for it on this pamphlet that he's passing out online. It wasn't Al Sharpton. Guess where he got that idea from? Well, let's look at a man by the name of John Schwarz. John Schwarz. Anyway, John Schwarz. Do I even need to read anything else? Anyway, let's go on. So again, big shout out to the individual that shared this in our hotline group, because like I said, I had no idea. Anyway, this is on CBS News website. After years of railing against corporate greed on social media, John Schwarz had an idea that suddenly caught fire: an economic blackout aimed at resisting what he maintains is an alliance between corporations and politicians to rig the system against ordinary Americans. The 57-year-old Chicago resident, founder of the People's Union USA, isn't that didn't I just mention him earlier? The fledgling advocacy group leading the campaign expresses surprise at suddenly finding himself and the movement in the spotlight. While he initially found the attention overwhelming, Schwarz said that in other ways, it is a movement he's been preparing for all his life. I've been online for 10 years trying to do this in kind of a nice way, not really speaking as bluntly on specific topics, Schwarz told CBS Money Watch. And then after that, I said, no, this is great because this is exactly what I wanted to do. And I just dove in headfirst, and we're not stopping. Schwarz, a father of three and a meditation teacher, said the idea for a blackout came to him while recording the latest in a series of videos posted on social media in which he presents himself as a common man, who is also the president of the United States. When I was into about the third or fourth one of those, I said, even a president should be calling for an economic blackout to unionize citizens. And when I kind of said that, it sparked the idea in me. And I said, you know what? As a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's do an economic boycott. Get a bunch of people together for one day if they want to take part and start something, and try to work on unionizing the people. And this is John Schwarz. May the Schwarz be with you. Anyway, over the past month, the word spread quickly of the February 28th economic blackout, which urges Americans to refrain from spending any money at any major retailer for 24 hours. The People's Union said it is apolitical and that its call for boycott, communicated by punchy posts on Instagram and TikTok, set to music as well as text and email, is meant to fire a shot across the bow of corporate giants from Amazon to McDonald's. And then he goes on. All right. I'll just read this part here. Schwarz founded the People's Union USA only in February, and as a grassroots organization, the group is still in the process of setting up its structure and registering as a legal entity. To cover its costs, Schwarz had set up a GoFundMe page with the goal of raising $100,000, and as of Friday, he raised more than $90,000. Schwarz sees the blackout. This is really interesting. I'm trying to help y'all. I'm trying to help y'all that are just so pissed off you just want to do something crazy like this blackout. I'm trying to help y'all. Okay, let's stop here for a second. Let me just stop. Okay, so let's just say, for example, I came to y'all and I said, listen, Wanea, let's see, we got Jennifer Young. Who else we got in here? We got Miss Big Up. We got some other people, and we got Psalms 31:24, and some of y'all others in here. And let's just say I said, you know what? We need to come together as a group of people. And, it gets more than this, but I'm just I got to slow this down a little bit. And I said, okay, what we need to do is we need to come together because I am so tired of Walmart and Target and I'm tired of them. Okay. And I said, we need to come together and we need to convince as many people as possible not to shop at these stores. Right. And so what I'm going to do, since I have camera equipment, I got sound equipment, I got lights and all of that, I'm going to use this platform to try to convince as many people as possible not to shop at these places, right? But in order for me to achieve that, there's just one problem. I need $100,000. Let's just full stop there for a second. Why do I need $100,000 to do a video or videos to tell people not to shop somewhere else? So if the money isn't going to Walmart and Target, it means it's going to whom? Mr. Schwarz. Do you not understand a scam when you see one? This is why Mr. Schwarz was working with the black churches. Okay? I'm trying to help you out. Why do you need 100? Listen, why do you need that? Why do you need that? Listen, if you go back in our history, talking about here in the United States, when black folks, when we would do a protest or we would get together, they were needs that were met or whatever. But usually those needs were like, okay, if the protesters, let's say, were coming into South Carolina somewhere, or they were going to Alabama or whatever, you know, some of the leaders or the staff, they needed places to stay. So they would, so people will offer their homes, and people would gladly come together and cook food and all that stuff. Or if someone needs transportation or whatever, the people got together and they provided that. Or if there was cash that was needed, the churches would get together, they would take up quick offerings and make sure that money was in. Why do you need $100,000 to convince people not to shop somewhere? I mean, this is what I'm trying to say. There's something, like I said, I do not have time. I don't have time to drive in the slow lane and in the fast lane at the same time. It's just nuts to me that people don't even see this. This is a whole scam. Anyway, let's move back here. And then we're going to get into the history part of it here. And trust me, it's not going to be too deep, okay? But it is going to be impactful. At least I hope it is. Schwarz sees the blackout as a way for Americans to use their economic might in the form of their purchasing power to fight corporate greed and corrupt politicians. What we're doing here is trying to cause economic resistance against corporations and politicians to stand for the people. I think people may be able to, at some point, begin to kind of realize that those things they are letting divide us won't really exist, he said. Another goal for the People's Union is abolishing federal income tax for the average Americans, which Schwarz says can be achieved by requiring large businesses to pay their fair share. And, in Schwarz, and even, on the administration is just putting their foot in their mouths with wanting to do, gold card visas for 5 million. So they're talking about bringing in more money. All the more reason we shouldn't have to pay federal taxes. They're kind of going after the Fed. I don't know if they caught up on that or not. I mean, they're going after the Fed. They literally got the Doge thing trying to audit the Fed, but the same nuts that are participating in this, they don't want them to do it. They're saying that, no, you can't have access to our information, but we want to get rid of the taxes. Gosh, this is... Anyway, it goes on. It's just nut city. And so there you go. So this is what they're talking about. This is their whole grand plan, that they are, this is what they want to go after, and this is what the goal was, and all this other stuff, right? Let me see if I can go here. John Schwarz. I got a little bit more info on Mr. Schwarz. Besides the fact that he's very Jewish, and we're going to talk about that as well. So anyway, so this is Mr. Schwarz here again. The man named John Schwarz is trying to pretend like there's some kind of nationwide economic blackout. He's getting donations on GoFundMe. He's pushing imagery with Black Fist on like it has a connection to Black Americans on Black History Month. Don't fall for it. Exactly. And let me see. This is him right here. The imagery. Now, the fist symbol, I mean, it has a lot of history to it. And it doesn't necessarily start with Black people. It goes on even before that, but we are not trying to go that deep in history on this broadcast. But for those of us in the here and now, for the most part, the fist symbol is one that resonates heavily with Black folks. Well, this isn't something that isn't this isn't new. This isn't new. And I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me see if I can make this any bigger. But notice the wristband right here. The wristband right here. This is a pro-Zionist kind of stuff that he's wearing here. So he's very Jewish. All right. And so, like I said, so we've established that he's working with other Black preachers. He's also, working with Al Sharpton, who Al Sharpton got out here and took credit for it and all this other stuff. Right. Let me see if I had anything else on him. Oh, there was look at this. Here's the shirt here. So you can get the shirt, the economic blackout. So a lot of Black people would see this and automatically assume, oh, you look at the name, Blackout, right? We just buy into that and think, oh, it's Black people coming together. Oh, Al Sharpton signed up on this. Oh yeah, child, we gonna get on this. Not realizing that this was not at all, had nothing to do with Black folks. Because again, they are saying that they're doing this as trying to speak out against their change in these corporations, their stance on when it comes to DEI policies, which we have said again repeatedly, only 4% of Black people actually benefit from this. Well, this whole trend of Jewish people influencing Black folks by way of using preachers isn't something that's really new. It's not new at all. For longtime followers of this platform here, you will know that we have a while back, we did a video on this individual here, right here. This gentleman by the name of Manning Johnson. Manning Johnson was a person, this is him right here. Manning Johnson, this was back, I want to say in the 50s and 60s, perhaps. Let me put the link in the chat here for you because his entire book is online and I would encourage you to read it. It's really not that long, quite honestly. And he also has his speeches. Some of his speeches are actually on YouTube here as well. You can listen to him. This is a man that basically he was involved in socialism, working with socialist, communist and socialist organizations that were coming out of Moscow. And his job, along with other Black folks, was to infiltrate Black churches. When I tell you this is a must-read textbook for every Black person, this is it. This is one of those. I can remember still to this very day when I first came across this book, I was shocked. I wasn't really shocked. It was just, wow. It's almost like the feeling you get when you find out, oh, snap, this is how they're doing this. You know what I mean? Like you actually got like backstage access. Like you get to see, that's this book here. And it's free. You can download it. But they also have it. You don't have to download. You can read it online. And so basically, yes. So he was working with the communists and strategically going in and telling them how to preach and how to infiltrate black churches so that they can use the real struggles that black people were dealing with during that time, but yet put a socialist swing to it so that it could benefit socialism, communism, that kind of thing. And this isn't anything new. Like, he's just one of the people that they hired, but there was many other people like, I don't know if you know this guy, Martin Luther King, many others that were trained by these socialist communists. They were trained by these people. And a lot of the rhetoric that you hear MLK preaching, it came from these people. Let me see if I highlight it, because I don't think I had the time. Let me see. Let me go back here. I'll just read some of this here. Subverting Negro churches. This is straight from the book. It's free, y'all. You ain't gotta, literally, it's free. And you can download. I'll put the link there. And like I said, you can download it or read it. Created doubt, lack of confidence, suspicion, setting up situations that bring about racial bitterness, violence, and conflict, putting forth demands so unrealistic that race relations are worsened, attacking everybody in disagreement as reactionaries, fascists, Ku Klux Kluxers among whites, and Uncle Toms among Negroes constitute the Reds' pattern of operation. In his book, he talks about the whole Uncle Tom thing, slur, that they actually helped develop that. He talks all about that. And like I said, again, I'm not going to read all of it, the whole book. I'm just reading part of it here. Fortunately, the overwhelming majority of Negroes in whose name the communists and their ilk presume to speak have not fallen for the blandishments of the Reds. They know a red light when they see one. The same cannot be said of many Negro intellectuals carrying the ball for communists. Since the communists have always looked upon Negro intellectuals as shallow, superficial, phrasemongers, and incompetents, looking for a loaf when they, on a daily basis of ability, are not worthy of a crumb. Their pro-communist behavior becomes all the more tragic and ludicrous. Only after the order came from Moscow in the 1934-35 period to win over the Negro intellectual by deceptive flattery and adulation did the Reds' public attitude towards them change. The Kremlin concluded that these superficial phonies could serve the cause of communism. A large number of Negro ministers are all for the communists. Some are prominent and influential, others are run-of-the-mill. They, in common, believe that beating the racial drums is a shortcut to prominence, money, and the realization of personal ambitions, even if the Negro masses are left prostrate and bleeding, expendables in the mad scramble for power. Abner W. Berry, columnist of the Daily Worker, official organ of the Communist Party, recently praised these ministers as fulfilling their historic role, i.e. delivering the Negro into the hands of the communists. Neither his pen nor his lips had such praise prior to the 1934-1935 period. Then Moscow line was clear. The resolution on the Negro stated, in the work among the Negroes, special attention should be paid to the role played by the churches and preachers who are acting on behalf of American imperialism. The party must conduct a continuous and carefully worked out campaign among the Negro masses, sharpened primarily against the preachers and the churchmen, who are the agents of the oppressors of the Negro race. All the instructions from Moscow at the same time ordered Reds to combat the influence of the church, because the church, by offering the Negro worker and peasant for the miseries that they are enduring in the world, compensation in heaven, are befogging the minds of the Negro worker and peasants, making them a helpless prey to capitalism and imperialism. Let me see, skip down here. Oh, here it is. This is what I was trying to get at. I wish I could just sit down and read this whole thing to you, but because of time. Okay. The bulk of Negro church members are in the South. They live by the good book. Anyone against the good book is of the devil. Well, times haven't really changed, have they? There is no in between. The red carpetbaggers discovered this when they touched the Negro's religion. I hope y'all listening to me. So they avoided this sore spot in order to snare the intended victims. Get them involved in the movement first and latter do the job on their religious convictions was the order. Anything else was putting the cart before the horse. The new line went like this. Jesus the carpenter was a worker like the communists. He was against the money changers, the capitalists, and exploiters of that day. That is why he drove them from the temple. The communists are the modern day fighters against the capitalists or money changers. You see how they do that? If Jesus were living today, he would be persecuted like the communists who seek to do good for the common people. I hope y'all tracking with me. All right, let me go down here. Let me see here. I don't know what this says. I'll just read this part, then we're done. For example, Gilbert Green, one of the top Reds in the country, reported as follows. For example, in the South, we have more than 300 members who are also members of the church youth organizations, especially the Baptist Young People's Union. In this district of Alabama, where possible, we should build units in the church youth organizations. Why? Because in the South, especially for the Negro youth, the church is the center of cultural and social activity. It is here that we must work. By building our units in the church organizations, we can also improve our work under the illegal conditions, as it will be easier to work in the church organizations. In Alabama, there are certain places in which we can, in a short while, take over the church organizations of youth under our leadership, and these can become legal covers for our work in the South. I told you this thing is like literally an entire blueprint of how the black church was infiltrated by this. Now, so some of you may be hearing this and saying, well, what's wrong with, communism or socialism? What's wrong with that? I kind of agree with a lot of the stuff that they say or whatever. Well, and then when you look at the wider scope of who, it wasn't just black churches. You also had the Black Panthers. They embraced a lot of this ideology. You had black celebrities, you had other black leaders or whatever. They all embraced this ideology that was rooted in communism. Well, have you ever taken the time to look at who actually came up? Who was the founder of communism? Who was the founder of communism? I'll give you maybe a minute to look that up. I'll give you a minute to look up who was the founder of communism. Who's considered the founder of communism? Sorry. I didn't think, you didn't think you was going to get some homework here. Okay. You want to get a class assignment. Who was the founder of communism? I'm trying to get your brain to engage here. All right. For the sake of those who maybe your keyboard's a little slow, it's okay. All right. But we're going to move on. The founder of communism was a man by the name of Karl Marx. Karl Marx, his father was Jewish. So when we're talking about communism is a Jewish ideology. That's what communism is, or socialism. It's all in the same bubble. It's all in the same group. There's differences when you talk about communism and socialism. There are some differences but it's all baked in Jewish ideology. This is a very important point that I'm making. So when you hear about communism, anytime you talk about communism, historically, the different things that was done under communism and all of that, we could talk about what happened, when communism finally took over Russia, the slaying of the Bolsheviks, and when they did that, we can look at immediately what took place at that time. And as soon as they killed that whole family, the Bolsheviks, the moment they did that, they immediately start putting in tons and tons of anti-Semitic laws, because at that time, under the Bolsheviks, what was happening was there was the attitude in the country was anti-Jewish. It was, because they saw what these people were doing when it comes to usury and all of this stuff, right? And so people didn't like it. I mean, this is the story of their whole life, from country to country to country. It was the usury thing over and over again. People getting tired of this stuff. And so that's what happened. I'm just kind of condensing the story here. And so, yeah, so communism is a Jewish ideology. And as much as they want to try to say, oh, no, it's not. No, it is. It is. It's very much so. So let's fast forward to what we are talking about as far as this blackout with Mr. Schwarz. It's no different. So here, so in this broadcast so far, I've shared with you how in 2025, black preachers, they are still using the same tactic of going after black preachers and instructing them to use this tactic as a way of fighting against the powers that be or whatever, but it stems from a Jewish ideology. And you know what the irony is? Like I said, I was going through my timeline and I hear some Hebrew Israelites that are actually talking about participating in this. And these same individuals will say, oh, they're the fake people, but you're using their tactics. You're literally using their tactics. You have no idea what you're talking about, literally no idea. But then they try to spin it with scripture and say, this is what the Bible is telling us to do and all. It was just like a word salad of nonsense, but not realizing that what you're doing is you're actually following along an age-old thing that's been going on with black people for who knows how long. And behind the scenes, this group is always found to be pulling the strings, if you will, particularly when it comes to black movements. So, I'm sure some of y'all may not realize that, but this is why I like to take the time to go through this stuff, because a lot of times we hear communism, we hear socialism or whatever, but no, you go through history, Jews will tell you this. They've written many, many books on this stuff, and they're very proud of this. But they have a way of sometimes trying to distance themselves and saying, oh, we ain't got nothing to do with that. That's not it at all. Now, the last point that I want to bring up to you is this. As soon as I can find this thing here, is this. Now, as I mentioned before, DEI is basically, diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is something that actually like I said, roughly 4% of black people benefit from it, which means that the majority are going to be people who fall into other categories. I was listening to one person, they said they did the numbers, and actually who really benefits from it in order is actually white women. And then it's like white men after that. Then it's like Asians, then it's Hispanics, then it's veterans, and black folks. We're like all the way at the bottom. I was listening to this person that was doing the math on this, but we don't benefit from this. But a lot of times the examples we see are people within the LGBTQ movement, and they're the ones that are benefiting more out of this than we are. All right. So anyway, let me take a short break and just share with you this, and then we're going to jump back into the other part, which is going to be much shorter than this first part. And then we're going to be done. OK, So if you've been following us on this platform, you know we've been talking about a number of things that we're rolling out and putting out as well. One of the things is we have rolled out an AI tool. It's called Claim Check. And Claim Check is an AI-based tool that will allow you to take claims that people use, you know, that make claims that people make that where they use the Bible as their centerpiece. And you're able to take those claims and you're able to upload them. And literally within seconds, it's being compared with actual factual history. And you're able to see where or not the person that's making a claim, are they telling truth, or are they kind of stretching the truth a little bit, or are they outright lying? And it's, you know, is the tool 100%, 10% accurate? No. The way we built this tool is, you know, it's quite simple, but, you know, it takes a little time, is that you basically have to create it where you have to train it on the works of different people who have a proven track record of being peer reviewed, series of peer reviewed works, you know, archaeologists, scientists, researchers, and what have you. And you take their data that they have put out there over the years, and then you train it. You tell this tool, I want you to follow the pattern of these people, and I want you to think as a unit. So you literally have like a team of researchers, PhD people, real PhD people, whatnot. And you're telling it, listen, anytime this information comes your way, I want you to put a collective brain together, and I want you to analyze it and look at all the research that's out there, past and current, and measure it and see where this person got it right and versus where they got it wrong. And so the goal isn't to prove to you that the Bible is trash or anything like that. That's not the goal at all. It's for people who really, you know, think that the Bible is accurate history, for you to actually see in real time where it, you know, to measure actual history versus the claims made in the Bible or people who teach from the Bible. And so, so what we've done, the way you access it, you just go to our website, journeymanandwoman.com. And so you click right here at the top where it says Claim Check, and it will take you right to it. You just click on that. You have to get an account with ChatGPT, which is absolutely free. And we certainly don't charge for access to it. You can go on it right now if you want to. And so that's the tool on how you access that right there. What we did recently is I uploaded this book, Hebrewisms of West Africa. This is another popular book that has been around in the Hebrew spaces for years. And we use this tool to do a whole breakdown of this book here. I actually did a video this time on this one, so I uploaded it's a short, but yeah, this is another book we looked at. You're able to take a book, as long as the book is in PDF form, you can upload the book in PDF form to this tool, and you can ask. The more detailed your questions are, the more details you're going to get back in return. In this case here, we used somebody did a video. We took the video, we basically extracted the the transcript from the video, extracted the transcript from the video, uploaded it, put it before this team of PhDs or whatever. And when I tell you, you got a full and complete breakdown of everything and where things were exaggerated, things were off. And it's just what we don't believe here on spirit-led research, because spirit-led research means, first of all, we don't know what spirit you're listening to. And number two, we just care about the facts and truth. And this is a great tool where you can use it. And like I said, again, it's absolutely 100% free. This is another book we looked at, From Babylon to Timbuktu, full of errors. I mean, just a lot of stuff there, and it's all outlined there. And there's a very thorough result that we was able to get from that. Okay, so that's one. Okay, so make sure you check that out. This is on journeymanandwoman.com. The second one we have is Baba Herbal. It's called Baba Herbal Assistant, and you can reach it here, or you can go on our sombertree.com. You can reach it there as well. And let me just pull something up here right quick here. Sombertree. sombertree.com. There you go. I'll put it here, sombertree.com, which is right here. Don't y'all like this picture? Man, it's time for me to change it out, but man, I really, really, really like this picture. I really like this picture. Wow. Anyway, all you got to do for Somber Tree is you go down to here. I actually posted a video that takes you step by step on, these new tools that we have. This one in particular by my herbal assistant. When you click on this, it will take you to the page and you can literally ask it anything, about any herb. And it's not just herbs that we sell, but just anything at all. If you're looking for an example, let's say, if you have an addiction to smoking, or maybe, if you're looking to set up, I need help in setting up a food plan for 7 days or 21 days, or what are the best herbs for handling this or that or whatever. This is the tool that you need to go to, and you can literally ask it anything from setting up food plans to finding out what restaurants in your local area cook with seed oils, who do not cook with seed oils. Yeah, you can find all of that stuff out. And that's over here at the Baba Herb Assistant. And again, this is totally free. You don't have to pay a dime for it. Again, you have to have a ChatGPT account, which is free and only takes seconds for you to set it up. Okay. So those are two tools I want to take the time and make sure that you guys are aware of that. Okay. All right, let's go on back and let's finish this out. Okay, shall we? All right. So this is a post that I posted over on our community page here today, matter of fact. Let's go back here. And let's go to post. There we go. Because this ties in exactly to what we're just talking about just now, where I'm going with this whole communism, all that other stuff, right? And that communism is a Jewish ideology. It's one that they created. This is a post I posted today. If you didn't see it, you can check it out, but we're just going to look at it now. I said, as we mentioned in the last broadcast, the quote unquote 92% crowd have a symbiotic relationship with the LGBTQ movement. At the center of their connection is a shared hatred for straight black men. This is why we call the black church. This is why what we call the black church can effortlessly draw tens of thousands of women while bleeding straight black men at the same time. That's intentional. That is not an accident. That's not oopsie. We don't know what we're doing. Something happened. The prison industrial complex is snatching them. No, it's intentional why black men are leaving the churches in droves. And so I went on to say, I said, these black women who make up the 92%, again, for those that are slow of hearing, I'm not saying all black women, nor am I saying 92% of black women. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that those who identify with the 92% of black female voters, the women, 92% of black female voters voted for Kamala Harris. But not only did they vote for her, they also supported the policies that she was pushing, one of which is the LGBTQ policies. All right. And everything else, all the tactics, the anti-black male tactics, all of that stuff. That's what they were willing to die on the hill for. All right. That's what I'm talking about. So again, we're not saying all black women. I got to be very clear with that. Okay. And I said these black women who make up the 92% go to churches where they are spiritually fed by LGBTQ, sung to by LGBTQ. Their weekly giving to God goes to a God who apparently winks at LGBTQ. When they want fashion tips, they go to the LGBTQ. Their TV entertainment must include LGBTQ. When many of them get their hair done, they go to, you guessed it, LGBTQ. So it makes perfect sense that they would throw their weight behind a pro-LGBTQ candidate. The problem, however, is that this movement, they have connected themselves to normalizes mental disorders. This is what the 92% want to see more of in our communities. And I'm not going to read all of this here, but basically what this says here, I'm quoting is a study that was done. This is a real study that was done. And they found that men who often get reassignment surgeries have a higher rate of mental illness. This is what they're saying. And so it's not normal. I don't care what people say. This is not normal. And this is the study right here in Oxford. And you can read it right there. So this is what's being promoted here. But I'm talking reassignment searches. And then at the end, I said, I dare you to do these 2 searches. And I say it again here. I'm challenging you right now. Those that are watching and listening right now, I am challenging you to do this right, when this broadcast is over. I want you to do 2 searches, detransitioning stories right here on YouTube. There are tons of them, of people who got these reassignment surgeries and have put out their testimonies and now are in full regret because they got it done. So I would really challenge you to do it. Don't just take my word for it. Listen to the people who are actually going through it. That's one. Number 2, I want you to do a Google image search on gender reassignment surgeries. Yeah. I know you're like, oh, that's too gruesome, but you need to look at it, because if you're going to talk about this stuff, you got to be willing to look at what the issue really is. See, I don't have time to get into the emotional stuff. I ain't got time to get in all of that. I'm not that guy. I want to look at the facts. So if it means I got to pour over pictures and pictures and pictures of these surgical procedures, I'm going to look at them, because I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to listen to the people who've actually gone through them and have regret for doing it. I'm going to listen to them as well. You always go to the source. All right. Now, anyway, where does this whole thing come from? Again, we're talking about Jewish ideology. We're talking about communism and all of that, and how that connects to this whole blackout thing, right? Well, this whole ideology now, when it comes to, you can surgically reassign somebody. We've talked about this individual as well. In fact, I had to go into so much detail with this. I had to do it on a whole complete background platform, because when I tell you it's wild. I mean, it's wild. So there was a Jewish gentleman by the name of Magnus Hirschfeld. Now, if you don't know this story, I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with this story. There was a movie that came out a few years ago in Hollywood called The Danish Girl. It touches on him a little bit, but this is a story about a man in Germany, I believe, who got reassignment surgery and all of that, and it just goes through it. Pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of images that are out there that show before and after. This guy is credited as being the forerunner in creating these whole reassignment surgeries in the first place. So if you want to really have a deep understanding of the root of DEI, this is part of it here. This is a big part of it. And so he had, and I'm not going to read through any of this, I'm just showing you so you can look at this stuff up yourself. He had what was considered the largest museum of sex museum at that time in Berlin. He had the largest one, they said, considered in the world. They said the last time there was that much sexual imagery collected all in one place, it was in the Roman Empire. And what happened was the Germans got so tired of all of this, because they were bringing in, like I said, again, there's so many details I cannot and I will not, for the sake of the length of this video, I'm not going to get into. But the Germans got so tired and fed up with this because they saw what was happening. That's what brought up, Nazism and all that other stuff. And when we see those videos of them burning books, you know what those books were? That wasn't Ebony Magazine or Jimmy. They weren't burning Time Magazine. They weren't burning, whatever books, Time Magazine. What else was around? No, New York Times or whatever. They weren't burning those books or magazines. They weren't burning that. Those images that you see of these Nazis burning books, they were burning books that came out of his museum. That's what was being burnt. See, your history teacher didn't teach that, did he? So again, when we look at this whole trend of transgenderism and all of that, when we see that, there's a history behind that. And what's unfortunately happened is that the black intelligentsia has trained us, has been trying to force us to accept this thing which isn't black at all. It comes from a Jewish ideology. And communism, socialism also comes from them as well. This is all historical facts. This is all historical facts. And you can look this stuff up all yourself. So I've just showed you in this broadcast, there is a whole line of history that shows repeatedly over and over again. We see time and time again who is at the center of pushing this ideology on the forefront. It's the black preacher. This is why we say again, the black church in of itself is a black feminist LGBT organization. And by the way, who's credited with starting the modern day feminist movement? Gloria Steinem. What is she? Well, let me rule out Puerto Rican. So there's always, we were talking about earlier, this symbiotic relationship. There's always been a symbiotic relationship between black folks and Jewish people, where the black folks are always following them. We talked about this, everything from the sports world. We've done videos on that, looking at the owners. We've talked about this even in the religious world, specifically talking about civil rights movement. We've talked about that. We've also looked at the whole real history of the Hebrew Israelite movement. When you go all the way back, I ain't talking about recent, I'm talking about going all the way to the beginning, back into the late 1800s, early 1900s. We've covered this in quite extensively. We showed you how in Harlem, how many of these early Hebrew Israelite assemblies were actually funded by Jewish congregations that were nearby, Jewish synagogues. In fact, many of the first Jewish assemblies, buildings where these assemblies met, they used to be synagogues. You can go into Harlem today and you can see some of these old, it may be where black synagogues, black Hebrew Israelites where they meet, but some of those buildings used to actually be owned by Jews. So what I'm saying is that you have to be willing to call this stuff out for what it is. And unfortunately, a lot of our people are too entangled with the foolishness. They don't want to look at this history. In fact, in many cases, as I've identified, especially with Hebrew Israelites, as much as they want to say it, they want to be just like them. So how can you actually call something out when you want to be like them? So it's no different than what we're talking about with this whole thing, with this blackout. They use our symbolism, they use our vernacular, they use our culture and all of that, and then they intertwine our culture with exactly what they want us to say. Look at Jasmine Crockett. People like, yeah, you go, girl. Well, who's the money bags behind her? George Soros's son. Who's George Soros? What group does he belong to? You understand what I'm saying? This thing goes deep, but you got to be willing to take the time to look at it for what it is. Now, this is not to say that that's why you got to be MAGA or Team Trump. I'm not saying that at all. My argument is both are of the same bird, because if you listen to MAGA, they're very pro-Israel to the extreme. They are pro-Zionist. But then on the other side, you got the same group. They're just wearing a different hat. It's the same thing. So when you look at this stuff, again, you can look at it from a distance. If there's certain things that are coming out that benefit, take those things. That's fine. But it doesn't mean you got to be, I'm going to get my red hat and all this other stuff. You ain't got to do all that. You just have to know the history. And unfortunately, a lot of our people just don't want to do. They don't want that. They want someone just to simply tell them what to do, what to believe, what to pray to, who to pray to, or whatever. And that's it. And what I'm saying is we're in an era right now where you have to engage and use your brain. You have to. You must, because if you don't do it, I'm telling you, these people will continue to talk all around you. You'll be repeating the same things that the people that came before you were doing. They were trying their best, but unfortunately, some of them were just walking in plain old ignorance. It just they just were. You know. So anyway, I hope you got something out of this broadcast. There's no need for me to go any further in this, but I you know, because otherwise I'll just be repeating the same thing over and over again. But I do hope you take the time, some of the things I presented here in this broadcast, that you go back and research it yourself. Don't just take my word for it. As I always say, look these things up for yourself, okay? And the truth is there. You just have to be willing to get to it, okay? All right, that's it. It's not complicated. And a lot of times it's not hard. It's not hidden in a book that's tucked away somewhere, like you got to be Indiana Jones to find it. A lot of times this stuff is right in your face. It's just that a lot of people are just too afraid, because by looking at it, what it's going to do is going to require them to make some deep changes. It's going to require them to acknowledge that, man, we got this wrong. You know what I'm saying? We got this wrong. You know, it's not easy. And, but yeah, like these people doing this, what you call the blackout thing. I mean, the fact that you are okay with protesting against, even nobody is stopping and asking the impact that this is going to have on black employees or black folks or whatever. This is what's her face was trying to, what's the woman name that, I can't remember off the top of my head, a woman that has was selling products in Target. Now what she was trying to say, even though she was talking both sides of her mouth, I get what she was trying to say, but like I said, again, it was just two messages at the same time. She's trying to be pro blackout or pro or boycott, but at the same time, she was saying still buy my stuff, or still buy, because there are other black people who sell things in these stores that if you do this, it's going to have an impact on us as well. What she's saying is absolutely correct. You know what I mean? These people fought to get there. Finally, they're there. Now you got all of a sudden some strange voice coming out of somewhere. We going to boycott all of it. That's not a true black person that's saying that. That's some other powers that shouldn't be, that are driving these preachers and everybody else to say this stuff. Tabitha Brown, thank y'all. Y'all always be on point with me. Sometimes I'd be like forgetting some things. Tabitha Brown, that's what she was trying. So I agree with her. But like I said, again, she was just talking both sides of her mouth. But what other group does that? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, know the history. Know the history. It's there. All right. That's all I have for y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, your Saturday, your Sunday, and all of that. And that's it. I'm going to get back to work here. Thank you so much. Take care, and I'll see you again next time.